Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota and Bet365. Just not enough offense out in San Francisco against Justin Verlander. The Cubs lose ground again to the Brewers as Milwaukee walks one off at home. And the 2026 schedule is out. CHGO Cubs late night, early morning next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs podcast driven by Toyota, Let's Go Places, and Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use code CHGO365 at signup. Cubs lose to the Giants out west, 5-2 the final. A meh game for the Cubs. I thought it looked pretty good early on, but then not so great. Luke Stuckmeyer and Joey Christopoulos with you. The third member of our team, we're not going to tell you who it was, but he's puking right now. So, and not because of the baseball game. I don't think, at least. Right, Joey? I don't think that's part of it.
I cannot confirm or deny, but once Matthew Boyd started giving up dingers, suddenly
everybody
other
wanted
things started bubbling to the surface.
Everybody wanted to vomit. There were at least a few dry heaves out there. This was a game, though, like, We've said this for the last month and a half. This was one where the offense didn't score enough. I know Matthew Boyd wasn't like his best self and he gave up a couple of home runs, but you got to score more than 2 runs against the Giants to win a game. I guess you win some, you lose some, but in this case, you lose one and you lose some ground too.
Well, Luke, it's 12:30 right now on the East Coast. I'm coming at you live from the East Coast here for a little late night CHGO Cubs. Make sure you subscribe to the CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. Pound that like button. People in the chat tonight, these are the sickos. Yeah. These are the real sickos tonight in the chat. Because
tonight.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The first half of the game, making really fun, positive notes about situational offense. Matthew Boyd getting some Ks, getting some strikeouts. And then, you know, that bloop hit by Rafael Devers kind of really opened up the floodgates, gave up some runs. And unfortunately, the Cubs are on the wrong side of this one. It's going to be a long podcast tonight, Luke. So I think I got enough time here to kind of go off the board here really quick. You know what that feeling? You know that feeling really quick when you haven't seen a team in a while, like the San Francisco Giants, and you go out to that beautiful ballpark and you're ready to see those Will Clark jerseys. What the hell is going on in San Francisco? What the hell is going on?
A third of the stadium. Just going to say I'm old, but those were terrible.
A third of the stadium is full, and they're wearing these weird arcade sophomoric City Connect jerseys. I was so psyched just to see that burnt orange and those white jerseys go up against our Cubs tonight. And unfortunately, Justin Verlander and them and those ugly jerseys got the better hand of us tonight.
What a disgrace that Verlander had to wear that jersey. I mean, listen, I don't usually get into the whole uniform thing. Those looked like USFL uniforms. That's how far back you go. I mean, it looked like the Blitz was playing for Chicago. I mean, it was bad, real bad. Like, do they have to get a new uniform for every team all the time? Like, at least the Cubs have done pretty good ones, and I feel like the White Sox have been pretty good too, except for I didn't love their red and black this year. But this looked like this was so corny. It looked like they should be playing the Savannah Bananas.
Their jerseys are so iconic. The logo is truly iconic. And when Justin Verlander like names all the reasons why he'll probably retire at the end of the season, I think that jersey is going to be on the list. Because I'm with you. It looked like he was playing some sort of like futuristic Blade Runner game of some kind. I'm deflecting away from a Cubs offense that completely turned the lights out on themselves halfway in the second half of the game. But I just had to get that out of the way. I was excited to watch some San Francisco Giant uniform baseball on the West Coast, and I got that in an empty stadium. Something ain't right out there. It's not right.
No, it was brutal. And hey, before we go any further, do want to tell people about the Die Hard deal right now, because we got this Die Hard deal. We got some new merch they just dropped with the Bears season coming up and hopefully the Cubs playoffs. But the key is now they've got tiers to this. The base tier for a Die Hard deal right now, limited time offers $59 to join. Normally it's $70. Now we have this new tailgate tier going, $89 limited time, but that also gets you, in addition to the free t-shirt and all the other perks that come along with being a diehard and access to all of Adam Johns and everybody else that writes for us, it also gets you 2 free tailgate passes to one of our Bears tailgates this season. So a ticket for you to get in free to the tailgate and for a friend. And current diehards can upgrade to that tailgate tier at a prorated deal. So pretty great deal. Still think there's Cubs playoffs coming, despite the fact that they're now 6.5 back of the Brewers, who walked it off. And, my biggest takeaway from this game is simply that Seiya continues to struggle. And we've seen signs of life for some guys, and Tucker's looked a little bit better, right? And PCA had some plays, and even Dansby made some plays. Hap had a double. Like, stuff was happening, but Seiya's still struggling. And for the life of me, even though he struck out to end the game, I can't figure out why Counsell won't just sit Seiya for like 3 days. It worked last year when they sat him and then he came out of it. Why not do what you just did with Tucker? Give Casey like 3 or 4 more starts. I'm not worried about this call up for Casey and now his lack of playing time now that Stucker's back. I'm not worried about this stunting his growth as a baseball player, because we're so late in the season, it doesn't matter at AAA and yada, yada, yada. I'm not worried about a month of baseball, him not playing too much, stunting his growth. But there is opportunity for him to get bats. And frankly, he just was great in a series against the Brewers. Seiya hasn't done anything in forever. Just sit him down. Sit him down. I don't know why we're not playing Casey more.
Or move him around in the lineup a little bit.
Now, look, this goes opposed to that.
This goes back to Craig Counsell saying, I want to play my best players. And Luke, I'm so happy that you're bringing this up, because we are on the exact same page. At the All-Star break, Seiya Suzuki had 77 RBIs. In 72 games, though, his past 72 games, 269 at-bats, Seiya Suzuki is hitting .219 with an OPS of .699. Major league average for a major league hitter is .720. He is a below-average player, and this isn't even, as Cubs fans now, Kyle Tucker gets a single tonight, has a great weekend against the Angels. The eye of Sauron of Cubs fans is now fixed, in my opinion, over to Seiya Suzuki, because he's now the next player that we have to fix. 35 games since the All-Star break, hitting 181, only 10 RBIs in that span, only 6 RBIs in August, a 278 slug. Luke, if I told you at the All-Star break with 77 RBIs for Seiya, if I put it to you right now as the over-under for RBIs this season at 102.5, he's at 87 right now. Are you buying the over, or are you buying the under on Seiya Suzuki in 102.5 RBIs?
I'm taking the under because, some people might see signs of him improving. I don't see it. I even heard JD say, like, man, Seiya's really, you might have to give him a rest. Like, I don't see it. It's crazy. You mentioned those numbers, Joey. He was leading Major League Baseball in RBI. We were all saying he's got to be in the All-Star game because he's the RBI leader. And he comes back, and it's just been so pedestrian offensively that it's been hard to watch. By the way, I see we have a Toyota Super Chat from Sell the Team Ricketts, $20. Hold on. Let me throw my readers on for this because it's late now. Bats are a problem again. We're heating up against the Angels, or was that a flash of a dying star that'll be the Cubs 2025 season? Where the heck is Casey? Why is Seiya in the lineup? Come on, bro. What are we doing? That's pretty much what we were just saying, right? Like, I don't really understand it. Now, maybe they played things better than we think with Tucker, although I still think the injury was mishandled by the Cubs. And great, he seems to be looking better tonight. I didn't love the one strikeout. I don't think that was his fault. And he got a hit tonight, and he's looked much better. PCA showed signs of life, but man, Seiya, and really Michael Busch too. Michael Busch has been struggling for a little while too.
We can't play this game of this dissection of the narrative of Kyle Tucker and sitting him down for a few days and say that cannot apply to Seiya Suzuki right now. And when we talk about tonight's game specifically, I have an interesting stat about the Chicago Cubs right now in August that I probably want to bring to you at the other side of the break. But what this team needed tonight on the road, those first 5 innings, right? I liked what I saw. There's some 2-out hits. They were manufacturing, they were grinding out runs. But even when you got down to 5-2 in the game, this team needed a home run. This team needed some power. And you can't tell me that you can't sit down Seiya Suzuki for a couple of games and say, well, we don't have anyone to play in his place. You do. His name is Owen Casey. At the very least, his name can also be Willie Castro. So we're getting a little bit to point critical here, critical mass of you either have to make the decision of moving Seiya down in the lineup and just taking him out of that 3 spot, and actually he's been a little bit better in the 2 spot this year, but he's been sitting in that 3 spot. You either got to take him out of that spot in the order, or the Kyle Tucker treatment, sit him down for a few days, see if you his head, because this is another guy that we need to get going desperately, and he just isn't clicking. It has been like that. It's 269 at bats, man. I mean, that's a large sample size. You can't just say that I need to keep playing my best players. What's the line in Wayne's World? Live in the now, Craig Counsell. Live in the now, man. Live in the now. Seiya just isn't cutting it. We have to get him right as quick as possible. You can't just ride this out, and they got to do something, either giving him a blow or moving him out of the lineup, at least the 3 spot.
Man, I didn't think we were going to go Wayne's World, but
super happy ending. Let's just get to that point.
Take us back somewhere else. Whatever. Man, oh man, it's like Seiya's frustrating to me as a fan a lot of times because he has these highs where you're like, man, that guy is a professional hitter, and you can look at the stats and talk about how good of a hitter he's been over the last couple of years. And then you can also look at it and you could say, when he gets cold, man, he can look bad. Seiya can look as bad as it gets, right? Like so pedestrian, and his lows are low. And I don't know what it is.
It's tough to wrap my head around. And this is just my eye test as a fan and watching a lot of years of incredibly talented hitters hit in the Cubs uniform. And I do think Seiya Suzuki is one of the more talented hitters that we've had on a Cubs team in quite some time. And you can make the argument outside of Kyle Tucker, he may be one of, if not the most talented hitter in the Chicago Cubs lineup. But for the life of me, Luke, I've never seen a more talented hitter have more wasteful at bats and swings. And sometimes he'll just wave at a ball. He leads the team probably in check swing foul balls. And I'm just a little curious about when he's locked in, everything looks really good. When he's a little off, when he isn't locked in, he has a hard time just struggling and coming up with the professional bats at times. And I get it. He has picking up some singles. He had a single tonight. But that's not what we need for Seiya Suzuki. This goes back to the Tucker conversation. We don't want Kyle Tucker just walking and getting on base. We don't want Seiya Suzuki hitting just singles. We need him roping balls into the gap and hitting balls over the fence and hitting the ball hard all over the ballpark. We've seen it scantly the last couple of weeks, but nearly not enough. And it continues to compound. And as we're trying to turn the corner and get this team right, this is now the new pet project for Craig Counsell. How do we fix Seiya Suzuki?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, we talk about like they're going nowhere unless Tucker is Kyle Tucker, top 10 player in the game, right? The rest of the season, they're going nowhere unless he's that guy. They're going nowhere unless PCA bounces back and is that guy that we saw the first half of the season. They're going nowhere if Seiya doesn't bounce back. Like he's right in that list of just as important. So we'll get to more. What do you think about Seiya in the live YouTube chat? Let us know. We'll get to your comments in a second. But first, a quick word from our sponsors here at CHGO.
Hey, at Toyota's national sales event, we got a long lineup of vehicles for summer fun. 4Runners, it's an off-road icon. Tundra hauls it all with its twin turbo engine, and Tacoma takes adventure straight to the top. Want to ride with sizzling hot style and efficiency? It's the all-hybrid Camry. It's revving and ready to ride. So visit your local Chicagoland Toyota dealer or Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. And as Luke mentioned at the top of the show, we have our new Die Hard offer right now. We are finally offering for the first time tiers, a base tier, a limited time offer that's only $59 to join. That's normally $70. Then we have the new tailgate tier deal going, $89 limited time. You get 2 free tailgate tickets. So bring a friend, impress them with our awesome party to one of our Bears tailgates this season. You get a free t-shirt and all the benefits, $119 for a year too. So current Die Hard, you can upgrade and get your tailgate tier right now at a prorated price. So go to allchgo.com for the latest information.
All right, let's get real for a second.
Ooh.
The world's gone soft. Everybody cares about Taylor. Yeah, she's getting married.
She sure is.
But also, everybody gets a trophy for just showing up. I don't care.
Boy.
Congratulations to those young kids getting married. But everybody needs bubble wrap these days. Soda used to have a little kick. Now it's all pretty colors and fizz. RC Cola is not a soft drink. It's a damn good cola. It's the original cola. It doesn't fold under pressure. RC's an OG in the cola world of spineless soft drinks. No trends, no gimmicks, no glow up. RC hasn't changed its stripe since 1905 because it didn't need to. Same bold, crisp flavor it's always had. RC Cola tastes like a punch right in your face. It's so good. Do yourself a favor. Grab some RC at your local store. Stock up for all those end of summer parties, back to school celebrations, or just watching the first Bears game of the season, maybe Cubs playoffs. RC is the move for whatever you're doing. All right, Cubs lose game 1 to the Giants. It was lackluster, especially the last half of the game. Right now it's time for our Taking the Temp segment, your trusted local experts, 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit 4seasonsheatingcooling.com for all your special offers and money-saving coupons. That's 4seasonsheatingcooling.com. Here's what I want to get to, Joey. Not only was the Cubs offense lacking, but they were lacking against a guy who I believe entered the game 1-10 with an ERA of like 4.5. Okay. Justin Verlander is not the Justin Verlander of old. This probably is it, right? Like he's winding down his career. He and Kate Upton are just going to ride off into the sunset and enjoy their lives. Pretty good for him. 6 innings, 2 runs. They couldn't find it against this guy. And guys were striking out against him. Was like, he doesn't strike guys out anymore. But I ask you this, if you're taking the temp on Justin Verlander, is he the best pitcher of the last 20 years? Like, just for that stretch. I'm not saying in the last 20 years is he the best pitcher, because some other guys were on the back ends of their career and would have snuck into that. But if you're looking at like a 20-year stretch right now, so 2005 to 2025, is Verlander the best?
So you've had some great runs from pitchers during that time. Yohan Santana comes to mind. Max Scherzer comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Having the opportunity to live in Clayton Kershaw, having the opportunity to live in Los Angeles. Dodgers fans would have a word about Clayton Kershaw. But when it comes to old school pitching, I mean, he was pumping 95 tonight. I mean, the stuff wasn't there. He got some help on the edges for sure. Like the zone wasn't awesome tonight, and it benefited Justin Verlander greatly. But I will say, in terms of a guy taking the ball, in terms of if I was a fan of Justin Verlander and he's on my team, in terms of him being on the bump, I'm taking him over Kershaw all day long, especially when it comes to playoff performance. I mean, Clayton Kershaw has his warts when it comes to October. And he's that old school guy, too, that will throw 92, 93 in the first or second inning. And then when he wants it, he does the old cliche rear back and give you that 95. He can go deep into games. Big, country, strong guy. And a guy, too, that in that last 20 years had it, lost it for half a season, found it again, lost it, found it again. And the last couple of years have been pretty that Greg, like when we talk about Greg Maddux and the end of his career, he's kind of had that similar trajectory the last few years. But pound for pound, I would probably go with Justin Verlander over Clayton Kershaw personally. What say you?
Yeah, I would too. I think it's Verlander. Kershaw's beautiful to watch. Not that he's not effective. He's greatly effective. They're both Hall of Famers. You're
easy.
Easy Hall of Famers. They're clearly two of the best. And Scherzer's in there too. But if I had to pick one guy to pitch one game from the last 20 years, it's Verlander. And I would say the two things that bother me the most about the Cubs roster moves over the last 15 years, the two that bug me are obviously letting Schwarber go and then giving Jock Peterson basically $1 million less. And now we look at Schwarbs. Quitting on the great Schwarbino. That's number one. But number two on the list is not giving us a chance to get Verlander. The guy thought he was coming here, wanted to come here, waited until the final second to come here. And I think you're looking at a different path for the Cubs if Verlander is here. He's that good. He's that much of just an anchor on your rotation. And so he holds everything down, right? You just know when you're giving that ball to that guy, especially in the postseason, good things are going to happen. And so for me, it's been from a distance, but it has been fun to watch this guy pitch. There's no question about it. And to see him do it again tonight is just you got to tip your cap to him. You have to. He's one of the all-time greats.
And a weird sense of irony, he walked in tonight's game 1-10. He picked up his second win of the season. So I just imagine a 42-year-old, and he's had his injury issues. And for him to probably go through what he needs to go through every fifth day to get his body ready to go out there and throw the 80, 90, 95 pitches every single week, to have that kind of record and pitch probably for the kind of mediocre season that the San Francisco Giants have had, I think that also speaks to why I would pick Justin Verlander, right? He doesn't care. He was battling out there. And to be honest, the Chicago Cubs, they had him on the ropes, right? They definitely had him on the ropes. And a couple of moments that really stuck out. The first one was Kyle Tucker gets that base hit. Seiya Suzuki, who we gave a hard time to in the first segment, drew that walk. And then PCA, he gets PCA to a 3-2 count and then just dirts a curveball and says, "Here you go, young kid. You're going to bite on this." And sure enough, PCA does. He gets out of the inning. Now, on the flip side, try to spin up a couple curveballs to Matt Shaw. One of them was a hanger that Matt Shaw could have hit 1,000 feet, but he blinked at it. And then the next one tried to throw him again, a better curveball. To Matt Shaw's credit, he hits it hard and gets an RBI single. But yeah, no, just a credit to Justin Verlander. And you're right, him and Kershaw, a little bit of a last of a dying breed, right? In terms of accumulated wins in their career, some of the innings, the strikeouts, and just the durability. So, tip of the cap to him. I've wanted him on the Cubs for a long time. So a lot of respect for Justin Verlander.
Yeah, and like the rest of us, he's looking a little more bloated than he did 20 years ago. It looks like he's eating a little spaghetti, but that's okay. He likes the spaghetti dinner. That's okay. We don't judge on this show. I ate 7 donuts the other day just to try and get the Cubs out of this.
Any weight is good weight, right? When you're rocking back and then propelling a ball forward.
Yeah. He is one of the all-time greats, and it has been fun to watch him throughout his career. And I know people thought I was joking, but I was not joking at the trade deadline when I said, I know everybody thinks he's washed because you look at his record and he's bad, but he was starting to show signs of life right around the trade deadline. And I said, listen, if for nothing else, if I have to hand the ball to a guy a couple times late in the season, I'm not worried about Verlander being overwhelmed by the moment. And if I had to hand the ball to a third or fourth starter in a playoff series, man, I'd feel fine handing it to Verlander. Like right now, if you ask me, would you rather hand the ball to Verlander or Taillon, who, by the way, that groin injury we're keeping an eye on because we don't know if he's going to make his next start? Well, the answer is Verlander. I don't care what the record is. I would give the ball to Verlander.
100%. And if you're looking, look, this is a fluid situation and it's a total TBD, right? But at the trade deadline, I think Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins made, instead of going out and maybe getting a Verlander, right? He made a calculated gamble on 3 pitchers. Mike Soroka is a definite X on that.
Yes.
I'll tell you, I liked what I've seen from Javier Assad, his 2 times out. I mean, at the very least, at this point in the year, like just eye test, his arm looks fresh. And I think he's done the job, and I'm happy with him. And as you said, Taillon now dealing with groin tightness, coming back from a calf strain. Hopefully he comes back healthy. Hopefully he can pitch and be productive for us the rest of the way. But again, lower half injuries for a veteran pitcher. Now it's 2 of them. I'm worried that maybe it's stacking up. I hope that it isn't. But again, that sits a little bit at a 1 for 3 in terms of the pitching gambles that Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins decided to do instead of maybe rolling the dice on a Justin Verlander, a Charlie Morton, more of a veteran type pitcher.
Speaking of pitchers, Matthew Boyd didn't have his best stuff. You know, he had a bunch of walks tonight. I don't think the 5 earned runs are totally reflective of the way he pitched, though. I don't think it was that bad. He made a couple of mistakes. Devers gets the bloop hit, and that kind of changes his game. Yeah, he gave up a couple of home runs, but I'm not worried about Matthew Boyd, and I'm not blaming him for this game either, because this was a game where if the offense puts up some numbers, they can bail him out of some of these situations. It wasn't his best effort. Like, it wasn't his best night, right?
Yeah,
but at the same time, it wasn't his worst.
No. I mean, my general thought was I think he got close to his season high in strikeouts. So you would think, based by the box score, that Matthew Boyd pitched well. What I found to be interesting tonight was that they were commenting, JD, during the game, that his fastball was sitting at around 94, which was a tick up above his season average. I just didn't think he was locating the fastball very well. And I started to notice in that 4th inning, I think he started off the first 2 hitters with curveballs that he landed for strikes. But that at the time seemed like, oh, wow, Matthew Boyd really kind of like turning it on him a little bit. But maybe that was also him not trusting the command of his fastball. And he was getting swing and miss with the changeup. He wasn't getting swing and miss with the fastball. And if he wasn't locating the fastball, eventually they were able to time up that changeup. So it wasn't the best Matthew Boyd that you're going to see. He was battling a little bit out there. He was getting some swing and miss. I'm not ringing any alarm bells by any stretch of the imagination. That bloop by Rafael Devers kind of broke everything open a little bit, gave up that home run the following inning. I guess you could ponder whether they should have pulled him after that 5th inning, but I think he was only at low 80s in this pitch count.
Mm-hmm.
We're on the road. It's August. He's your team leader in wins right now. So I'm not going to rail against Craig Counsell for that either. Again, though, this comes back to the Cubs offense. And while they were able to grind out a few runs, they really needed that big hit tonight. And I get it. It's spacious, Pac Bell Park. So maybe it's hard to hit the ball out, but the Giants didn't seem to have too much of a problem doing that tonight. And that just really became the story of the night, was that the Cubs needed to put a little power, put a little juice in some moments, and they were just unable to do that.
Yeah, Marcus in the live YouTube chat says Boyd is looking a little tired. Maybe. I mean, it's something that the Cubs do have to keep an eye on, right? But they also are in a position that they really can't do much about it, especially with Taillon being injured and not having added a legitimate starter to the rotation at the trade deadline. Like, this is who they have. And I know he's had a lot of injuries, but you're going to have to pitch him. I know you're going to have to be careful, but just like Cade Horton, I don't know what the alternative is, right? Like,
these are your horses. No, these are your horses. Time to go. I'm not saying push him to 120 pitches, but no, I mean, Matthew Boyd's gotten you here this far. That's fine if you feel like that, because maybe the result isn't what you wanted. I just personally, he didn't seem very tired. His fastball was sitting at 94. So he seemed okay to me.
He looked frustrated is what he looked at. He did a lot of biting his glove tonight, which was reminded me of Ted Lilly slamming his glove down in the playoffs, but we'll get to that in a minute. And also, what do you think of Rafael Devers? That's what I want to ask you in the live YouTube chat. Give me your comments on Devers. What do you think of this Giants player? Let me know. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, Cubs fans, whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. Bet on all your favorite teams, like the Chicago Cubs, in every game this season. They got spreads, props, futures, or in-game. Circa Sports has it all. So fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. What could it be? Do you like the Chicago Cubs to win the division? Do you like the Chicago Cubs to make the playoffs? Or maybe go even a little bit farther? Do they have a bet for Seiya Suzuki over 102 RBIs? Find out for yourself. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
By the way, Cade Horton, starting to look like the favorite for Rookie of the Year.
Monarch heard Money. Those odds came out.
That's right. Feel organized and confident in your finances with Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool. Right now, just for our listeners, Monarch is offering 50% off your first year. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances, Monarch Money is for you. Monarch does all the heavy lifting. They link your accounts in minutes, smart categorizing of your spending, and real control over your money. That's right. If you're not on top of your money, you could be missing out on chances to save more, invest smarter, or hit your financial goals faster. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code CHGO at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code CHGO. They tell me, finances, one of the things that can just ruin relationships. Monarch Money might save your relationship. That's a tip for, of course, Taylor and Travis.
TNT.
Married. They might want to get some, I know they worry about finances quite a bit. So
are they saving enough, though, is what I want to know.
I hope putting enough away. I hope they're making appropriate investments.
That's what
I hope so
too as well.
Congratulations. Boy, the internet really unloaded with that today, huh? That was a big deal.
Set ablaze, Luke. It was a shockwave.
I know. I don't understand why people care, but okay. Like, for instance, when Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman got married, I didn't go crazy.
America's previous royal couple? Is that what you're saying?
Isn't that sort of similar? What about Verlander and Upton? When they got married, did you go all hog wild about stuff? I don't know, whatever. Congratulations to them. They seem like wonderful people.
Yeah, they do. They're both successful. I don't know. Based on a podcast appearance, they seem to care about each other very much. My wife is fully on board. She's ridden the roller coaster of get her off the screen. I just want to watch football and it'll end in 4 months. And now she's like, I can't be rooting for these people harder. There's no way I'm not rooting for these people as hard as possible. So, hey, I'm all for love. I'm all for love and happiness. They do what they want. Do what they got to do.
Nice. Yeah. Hey, I was thinking about this game. There was not enough offense. Boyd wasn't his best self tonight. But, man, the Cubs were flashing the leather. They did everything they could defensively to keep this team in it. And so, there's been other games where I've been way more frustrated. They did do some things well, right? Some guys did get hits. And the defense, PCA's catch at the wall, I thought that was a home run. And then you just see his image at the track and you go, a blur. Okay. And then the next thing I thought is don't crash into the wall. And he puts on the brakes and makes the catch, and he makes it look so easy, right? And then I think the Cubs, they kind of got screwed by the review thing. I think it was Happ's glove that touched the net. I think that was a great catch too. I'm not so sure that the ball hit the net first. I don't know. Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
It could have happened. But I don't know how the angles that we saw on television could get you to overturn what was called a catch on the field.
We need to have a redefinition of the word conclusive, right? And how do we as fans interpret this rule? Is that we We ride with the call in the field. They will look at it, and if there is clear, conclusive video evidence, the umpires then have the choice to overturn it. I just can't imagine how, and it's so close too, and maybe it does hit the net, but it looks like also his mitt moved the net.
That's right.
His mitt moved the net in, and then the ball came into the glove. So if we're going to put these nets up for safety, and I'm all for that, you have to explain to me then that the player then can't touch that net at all. Is that out of play? Because that doesn't work in any other part of the ballpark. They can reach into the dugout and catch a ball. They can reach over the fence and catch a ball. So if he were to move the net and make the catch, that part I just don't understand. I think they got that wrong. And unfortunately, yeah, it didn't go the Cubs' way, but another great defensive play. Yeah, they were on it tonight, right? I thought Dansby played a really great game defensively. And, Matt Shaw's doing what he does.
He had a couple picks at third, right? Yeah,
nice scoop from Justin Turner in that game. I thought Kyle Tucker played a solid right field tonight. PCA is awesome as usual. So, I'm really not walking away from this game like mega depressed or bummed, and I think we've been, as Cubs fans, kind of really drilling in a lot of details lately about what we want to see from this team to turn around. I personally just don't really think that was one of those nights. The only thing, though, Luke, and I'm just going to keep coming back to it, is just I was looking at the stat that I pulled up, and I just want to keep hammering that the Chicago Cubs, if they want to go where they want to go, I think their lineup is built to hit the ball over the fence, and we just haven't quite seen enough of it. In the month of August, tonight was the 24th game that they've played. The Chicago Cubs only have 19 home runs as a team in the month of August. They got one from Reese McGuire, one from Ian Happ, one from Seiya Suzuki, one from Owen Casey, one from Justin Turner, one from PCA, two from Dansby, three from Michael Busch, three from Kyle Tucker, which came very recently, and five from Matt Shaw. So if you take away the five from Matt Shaw and the quick little weekend heater in Anaheim that Kyle Tucker had, you're suddenly at 11 home runs in 24 games in the middle, and we're stretching towards the end of August. Let's just be honest. That's just not going to cut it. And you look at Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki with one each in the month. These guys got to at least be getting to 2, 3, 4 home runs a month. That's what their season average says it should be. And some of these guys are just falling short of that right now.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a complete power outage, right? Like that's just what it's been. Isaac says, wow, Cal Raleigh has that in 1 month. That's right. Like, I mean, truthfully, that's almost what it's like. It's like one guy's almost doing that. And
Sammy hit 20 in a month
in the last couple of days.
Yeah, Sammy hit 20 in a month of June by himself.
Yeah, and back to the defense real quick is just the fact that play that Dansby made from his backside, throwing out Rafael Devers. I asked before the break, like, what do you think of Devers? Listen, he's talented. There's no denying that the guy is talented.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, am I glad the Cubs didn't trade for him. I'm glad the Cubs didn't give up a lot to go get him. And I might not have said that 3 months ago. The guy's a dog. I've seen it. I've seen enough now, not just tonight, but I've seen enough plays that I say to myself, and knowing that he didn't want to switch for the Red Sox, I get why the Red Sox were like, let's just move on. This is a bad idea. Like, you don't trade players like that, but he's a bad look. Like, he's loafing it down to first base. When Dansby threw him out, sitting down from the other side of second base, he wasn't even in the picture. When they showed the replay going to commercial, Devers' foot wasn't even in the picture when Turner put the squeeze on it. You're loafing it, man.
How about his first at bat? How about the double play? He hits the ball hard into the hole at second. And Nico and Dansby, nice turn, but Dansby had all day to throw to first because he threw out Devers by like 7 or 8 feet.
Yeah.
And even Book said, wasn't really busting it down the line on that one. And Luke, like, the only thing is, as a Cubs fan, you could say, yeah, I'm so happy that we didn't, dip into those waters, right? But this does bring up a more nuanced conversation about when you try and sign these guys to these mega deals. It isn't just the numbers on the back of the baseball card. There are so many factors that you have to put into place and calculate. And for Boston's, right, Boston was we traded Mookie Betts, and maybe we had to do a make good and sign one of our homegrown guys. We let Xander Bogaerts walk out the door. That was probably a good call, but we have to sign one of our guys. So here's $330 million. And I think the nuance also is I think Rafael Devers is an incredibly talented offensive hitter.
Sure.
But if I wanted to be in business with Rafael Devers, I think you'd probably want to be looking more in the 3 to 4 year range and not that 7, 8, 9 year deal. Like, do you want to be doing business with that type of player? Now, Kyle Tucker, on the other hand, when we talk about the production and we talk about some of the intangibles and everything else he brings to the lineup, I don't have those fears. I don't have a fear committing whatever the years are to a player like Kyle Tucker, because I intrinsically know that he cares about the game and that he is going to do everything that he can to win. And we've seen over the last 6 weeks, maybe the detriment of his own production, he wants to be out there. He wants to play. I think if you ask Kyle Tucker to play left field tomorrow, I think he would do it. I don't think you'd have a position switch difficulty like you would with Rafael Devers. So sometimes it's a little bit of, the grass isn't always greener, right? When you look at some of these big time players and these big time contracts that you hand out, and Rafael Devers, I'm saying it right now, like he'll put up some big numbers for the Giants. I just don't think at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to be a good deal. And I could see them in 2 or 3 years trying to get out of that deal more than saying, wow, what a great trade we had.
Yeah, to piggyback what you're saying, I've always thought that when you give those deals, and especially when you give deals to young players before you need to, right? For instance, the Cubs have been thinking about PCA and talked about it early in the season. It's not about guaranteeing that they're going to be this player. That's not it. The reason you give the money to these players, you need to know who they are. You need to know how they're going to respond to the money. You need to know whether they love the game. You need to know if they're going to continue to work. So those are the things you have to think about when you're giving out big deals. The White Sox did it with Eloy. They did it with Moncada. Lots of guys that they regret, and they turned out to be loafers. Devers has tons of talent, and he's better than any of those guys the White Sox had. But he's got loafer and troublemaker written all over him in some of these situations. And so I agree. I think they're going to regret it. I don't have those concerns with Tucker, but I do think it's one of the, while we all worried about Tucker being a rental, and he may end up being that anyways, but we'll see. But the one benefit to having him for 1 year at least, and not just pursuing a guy in free agency, is you get to see him up close. You get to see how he handles things. Now, we both said yesterday, I didn't love some of the signs I saw from him, but this slump, unlike anything he's been through, right? Like his frustration and the one time not running out of the box, I can't compare that to what Devers is doing. I don't have those problems with Kyle Tucker, if that's what you're talking about. I don't have those problems if you want to give a lot of money to PCA, even though he's only shown you like one full season of really good baseball, right? You got to know who the guy is, and you got to know how they're going to react to money. I don't think either one of those players, PCA or Tucker, is someone you need to worry about that stuff with.
100%. De La Cruz, I liked his comment in here that Devers has been worse than Machado. I mean, by a mile. Manny Machado's a Gold Glove player. Manny Machado, if you want to look at contracts and you want to say to yourself, you're going to sign Kyle Tucker to a deal, you hope that he puts up the type of numbers that Manny Machado has put up. Playing Gold Glove defense at third base. And honestly, too, really quick, I know it doesn't mean much about wins and losses, but Manny Machado's been a fantastic member of the community for San Diego now for several years. Like, he is a great ambassador for San Diego Padres baseball. So these big deals and these big money deals, they scare you. And just because a guy can rake a little bit that sometimes isn't the whole part of the equation when you want to hand out some type of money. And for me personally, PCA wise, I think he does have those type of intangibles. Like we do not disagree or doubt that he cares a ton about the game of baseball. I am with you though a little bit where I'm old school. I would like to maybe see a little bit more before we just start saying, hey, here's $220 million. And I think that that's fair. I don't think that I'm out of place saying that or expecting some sort of high bar for PCA. He just needs to prove it a little bit more. And I think over time and with the bats and just the nature of playing more games, he will show that. But in regards to that comment, I mean, yeah, the Rafael Devers money, I just don't think in a couple years is going to look very good for San Francisco. I think that's going to be tough. I honestly, I think the Willy Adames money probably will be, he's having a rough year. He's having a down year, but I think that money will probably be better money well spent than Rafael Devers in the long run for San Francisco.
I don't think he's as talented as Devers.
Sure.
But I would agree with you on that. And, it's funny because in some ways we're talking about like desire to play the game and care and want. And then you also see the flip side of that, but you also look at the Cubs decision with a guy who just got suspended for 6 games, right? Willson Contreras. And he's appealing it, but Willson just had this crazy tirade in the game the other day, and it's not that Wilson's not a good player, right? Like the Cubs, they had him for a long time in their organization. They wanted to go a different way defensively, and B, I believe they were starting to get tired of his personality. Okay. And that doesn't mean that he's a bad guy. I'm just saying he kind of goes off. Like when we've seen Willson like multiple times now, just totally lose his cool. He threw a bat that hit Brant Brown. Yes, that Brant Brown, by the way, Cardinals hitting coach, in the head. First of all, he's lucky that the bat hit his own coach. Brant Brown's not, but Wilson's
almost at
lucky.
the umpire. Almost at the umpire.
If it hit the umpire, he's done for the season. Done for the season. And he's facing an even bigger fine. Like, he's lost his cool. The whole thing with the Cubs where he was barking at the Cubs going down to first base this season. Like, it's the same passion that we loved early in his career and loved about Willson as a player, but it gets him in trouble sometimes. And I think that's also when you start to worry about longer, bigger contracts for teams too. That type of stuff. Just a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be the first to tell you, when Willson Contreras hits that single up the middle against the San Francisco Giants in 2016.
Yeah.
In that comeback win, and he's fired up and he's pumped up. I tell you, he fired me up too. I got really pumped up for that too. But I will be honest that we've seen a lot of passionate players in this town. First one that always comes to mind for me is, I hate to cross over sports, but I think of a guy like Joakim Noah.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
Because I always felt like Wilson's, we'll call it passion, and last night was a version of passion that resembled anger. I always found it to be a bit misplaced. It never seemed to fit the moment at hand. So I always was curious about, was it always about something else? Was it always about something else going on with him? And I can understand being frustrated. Now, Twitter sleuths out there have remarked that the umpire that tossed Willson last night is the same umpire that tossed Nico Horner. When Nico Horner said, hey, you're having a really bad night, and he got tossed. So maybe Willson, in his own opinion, and maybe he was right, said something that he didn't feel like was very egregious or deserved the version of ejection that happened. But not only did he get ejected and got in his face, but then 4 or 5 people had to hold him back. He went off for like 30 or 40 seconds before he even threw that bat. And once that bat leaves your hand, nothing good can come of that. Only bad consequences for yourself or for your team. So for me with Willson, I appreciate the passion. I definitely appreciated his contributions, not only in the 2016 team, but he was one of the best hitters in the 2017 team before he popped his hamstring. Like, he was like, we were legitimately like, do we have the best power hitting catcher in the game? But again, I always felt that his passion came across with some weird timing and always felt a bit misplaced. And to be frank with you, always felt like he kind of made it about himself instead of the fire and passion that was maybe supposed to inject itself into the team like a Joakim Noah.
That might be the part of it that we're talking about. I don't want to be a total hypocrite because, like you, I loved Willson's passion. It's what I really enjoyed about him. His last season, he slams the bat down on home plate. I love that about him. When he would pound his chest, just like PCA, I love that about him. When he cried, when he realized that they were leaving, and it was like a going away party for Willson, I love that about him. But I do worry that he's got, like, on a personal level, that he's got some real anger issues. And I'm not comparing apples to apples here, and I'm not saying PCA has anger issues. That's why I want PCA to tone it down just a little bit. That's what I think the veterans on the team are talking to PCA about with the slamming of the helmet and the throwing and the stuff. I know it's an old thing to say, an old-timer thing to say, but there is a respect for the game, and you have to understand that there's so much failure in this game that you can't let it affect you like that all the time, or I think your lows are going to get too low or you're going to get in trouble. And so while it's not an apples to apples, and I probably shouldn't even make the comparison, but that's why I enjoyed it with Willson. But I also saw it become a problem at the end of his time in Chicago a little bit, and I don't want that to happen to PCA. I want him to mature as a young 23? Like, I want him to mature and listen to the guys around him, the Turners, the Dansbys, the Haps, and just be like, okay, it's okay. But once you find that happy medium of controlling that a little bit, but not giving up the drive and the want and all of those things, that's when you probably will play your best baseball. That's what I want to see.
And I'm with you, Luke. I mean, when it comes to PCA, I mean, he slams his helmet on the ground like at least twice a game.
Oh, it's every time now.
It's almost every time now. And like,
Yeah.
I wish, and then maybe with some maturity over time, like, you got to say to yourself, over 500 to 600 at bats a year, there are going to be at bats where you straight up lose. And he has a high expectation for himself, right? He thinks every single at bat is the at bat. I love that about him. Every single at bat, every single play that he can make on the outfield, every time he's at first base, he thinks he can steal second, third, and even home. I love that about him. And his talent allows him at his young age to almost reach those heights at times. But over 500 or 600 at bats a season, I promise you, I don't know what the pie chart is, but like 70 or 80 of those at bats are going to be those at bats where, like, you feel like you did the right thing, or you just got under a baseball and it just doesn't work out. And like, that's kind of the game of baseball. You know what I mean? Like, how many times are you going to like whip yourself on the back, or, you know what I mean? Like give yourself a hard time and be super frustrated that I'm better than this, when sometimes this happens to the best in the game, and it's 500, 600 bats. Like, this stuff is like going to happen. I just wish that it would roll off his back a little bit more. And I also wish that he would channel some of that into a focus in later at bats, instead of maybe a perception that it might be building on him as the game goes along.
Who's on your all-time former Cubs rage list? For
Big
me,
Z,
the
captain.
list starts with Big Z at the top.
Captain and leader.
Captain of the team is Carlos Zambrano. That's an easy one. Very easy. I think Willson might be number 2 on the list. If you're including managers, then you got like Lou Piniella and Lee Elia and, you know, all that stuff. But I would say players, the all rage team. Zambrano,
Milton Bradley is my corner outfielder.
Okay, yes.
Maybe Moises Alou is my left fielder.
He ended up in prison, but let's not get there. Zambrano. What about Kyle Farnsworth? I mean, he did body slam a guy that charged him.
He did. That's a great one.
He's got a lot of muscles now. I'd say it's Big Z and Contreras are 1-2. Javi had a little bit. Rizzo challenged the whole Reds team to fight him.
And look, we're talking about stuff that we want to be toned down. I think that was one of the most important moments in Cubs history. Yeah, it's one of the most important moments in Cubs history to me. Of like the captain Anthony Rizzo at the end of a season where they were up the track, saying we're not going to take this anymore, and maybe we're not the lovable losers, and maybe we're coming for the rest of the league, and maybe this is where I get to pick and choose what I want. But I love that moment from Rizzo.
Yeah. Honorable mention someday could be Justin Steele telling his teammates to wake up, but they needed it. They needed that.
One.
Some
Michael Barrett, honorable mention.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe a little bit there. I'm trying to think of some closers, and look, we've had a lot of them that were really like almost like too mega fired up after saves. I don't, did Hector Rondon, Albert Alzolay was pretty fired up after saves, but I thought that was more in like I thought that was in a pure, that was almost like in a pure like joyful kind of way. Like I can't even believe I'm the closer. This is
I think Big Z is the pitcher and the rest of the guys are position players, I think.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There's no center fielder.
Wilson's definitely on the list.
Brian McRae, maybe, for center field. I don't know.
The all rage list. Hey, real quick before we go, I know we only got like 4 minutes left here, but
we're doing 3 hours tonight. I thought we're doing 3 hours, right?
It just feels like it. The 2026 schedule is out, and because why not release the schedule before this year's over? They open with the Nationals, so when the Cubs World Series banner goes, that will be March 26th. When the new flag flies at Wrigley, that'll be the 26th, and then they end with the Red Sox.
Wow.
I don't love the Red Sox.
What are we doing?
The Yankees come to town next year. That'll be fun. I saw the Cardinals are at Wrigley 4th of July weekend. Labor Day weekend will be the Brewers next year at Wrigley.
That's good.
But I don't know why they're closing at Boston. Can't the end of the season just be teams playing their teams in the division? Is that not possible? Can we just have some? I know they're talking about realignment and yada, yada, but I like a little bit of old school.
First of all, can we just source who's asking for this realignment? Just, who's pounding the drum that says, you know what? I always wondered what it'd be like if the Pittsburgh Pirates were in the whatever East, the East Division and all that stuff. Look, I was going to ask you, how do you take your September baseball? Do you take it division rivals only?
I want it division,
or do you take like bigger matchups? I mean, would you rather see the Cubs Dodgers in September? I
want to see a lot of division play the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, because we're
almost
scoreboard
all
watching.
Division play. I want to have those games, Cubs Brewers. I want to have Cardinals Cubs. I want to whoever it might be, just somebody in your division at least.
Yeah, and what's interesting about it too is that just take a page out of the NFL. What the NFL tries to do is they're always going to put Bears Packers later in the season. They've done it for like the last 3 or 4 years because they want the opportunity to flex that game into a primetime matchup to juice up a rating, and they get that choice. MLB clearly doesn't have a platform. Sunday Night Baseball isn't what it used to be. Friday Night Baseball and Apple TV isn't what they want it to be right now. But is there a way where baseball can get back to that, where if they had a primetime platform, they could say to themselves, this game means something. I can't imagine the Red Sox and the Cubs being that type of matchup that if that platform existed, they would flex into a primetime slot.
Yeah. I also think baseball still just doesn't have figured out. I know that they will screw up the realignment if that's what they do. That'll be a mistake.
Do that.
If there's a lockout, that'll be a mistake. And the NFL, the one thing they do great for sure is that they have something, I swear, every other week being announced that's big that people are looking forward to, whether it's the draft, whether it's a combine, whether it's the schedule release, which is become this big thing. Meanwhile, baseball just throws it out during the middle of the week in August.
What happened to the Field of Dreams game? What happened to the Field of Dreams game?
They are going to play that next year. It's next year. Twins and who is it? Twins and somebody else. Anyways.
Oh, can't wait for that one. No, but I'm with you, man. Yeah, why drag that in the middle when Cal Raleigh hits his 50th home run? Why are you dropping the schedule the day after? Let it breathe, man.
To do it the day that Taylor Swift got engaged just seems wrong. Okay? It seems
You heard
wrong.
it here first from Luke Stuckmeyer.
Twins and Phillies. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. We're back tomorrow after the game, late night as well. Thanks to Joey for staying up late. Hope the other guy that's vomiting feels better. Until then, don't forget, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.